Shalom and welcome to the Valley of Decision. This video series is for the playlist The Name Game, and we are going to take a look at two false names that have been supplanted or slipped into the scriptures, namely Baal and or Adonai. Now, sooner or later when you start to learn about the name game and what happened to our scriptures, a question that comes up is who started the name game? Where did it who started doing this? That's a question everyone should ask at some point. Was it those early Gentile Christians? Was it the people that conquered our ancestors? Was it the Assyrians, the Babylonians? Or did it start with our own people? Okay, that's an honest and legitimate question. And when we look neutrally back down through the corridors of time, we have to be honest and admit that this name game started amongst our own people. Okay, and the prophet Jeremiah, he makes an observation. It's in chapter 8, and I'm going to start reading at verse 5. These are some questions that he asks along with some observations. Why then is this people of Jerusalem smitten back by a perpetual backsliding? They hold fast deceit, they refuse to return. I hearkened and heard, but they spake not aright. No man repented him of his wickedness, saying, What have I done? Everyone turned to his course, as the horse rusheth into the battle. Yea, the stork in the heaven knoweth her appointed times, and the turtle, and the crane, and the swallow observe the time of their coming. But my people know not the judgment of Yahuwah. How do ye say, We are wise, and the law of Yahuwah is with us? Lo, certainly in vain made he it. The pen of the scribes is in vain. Okay, so what is that referring to? What were the scribes doing with their pens? Okay, the pen of the scribes is in vain. What were they doing? Let's see. Let's take a look at verse 9. The wise men are ashamed. They are dismayed and taken. Lo, they have rejected the word of Yahuwah, and what wisdom is in them? Okay, so now what do we know about Jeremiah? We know that the book of Jeremiah and the book of Lamentations, that they are filled with the prophecies, the mournings, and just the lamentations of Jeremiah over what had already befallen the northern kingdom Israel and what was soon to befall the southern kingdom of Judah. And he writes about the idolatry and the wickedness of the people and prophecies about the latter days. But what's important for us to know is that at this point our people were a sovereign people. They were not under the influence or oppression of outsiders. The ancient Hebrews fell into wickedness and destruction by their own choices. And so those priests, those scribes, what they were doing and what Jeremiah is talking about, this is what I call the name game. Meaning those wicked Hebrew priests and scribes had control of the scriptures, and they began to supplant the name of the Almighty with synonyms of other gods. They began slipping them in, deceiving the people. Okay? And so what we're going to look at just briefly, this series is going to be in about 2 or 3 different parts. This is just the first part, so we're just getting started. But when you start to study the scriptures and to delve deeper into what's going on, you're going to need a concordance. You're going to need a Hebrew dictionary, a Hebrew concordance. Now, I use the Strong's Exhaustive Expanded Concordance, and it goes into detail about almost every word that is in the scriptures. And for the word Adonai, okay, this is one of the words that Jeremiah talked about, and you might not pick up on it at first, because remember, this is a name game. Okay, so we're going to look at one of these words, and that is Adon or Adonai, and it's in the Hebrew section. It's number 113, and it means sovereign, so i.e. controller, human or divine, and it translates to Lord. And I've got in parentheses the number of times that it is used in the scriptures, with the uppercase L 31 times, lowercase l 197 times, master or masters, it's used 105 times. So basically what that means is in our scriptures where we see the word Lord or master, for example in this passage that I just read, let's see, verse 8, how do ye say we are wise and the law of the Lord is with us? They would supplant that with the word Adonai. Okay, so wherever you see that word Lord or Master, just know that in Hebrew it is Adonai, and that Adonai means Lord and it means Master. Okay, and so at this point there might not appear to be anything wrong with that. That's nothing wrong with that, all right? Well, we're going to look at another word. Same section of the concordance, Baal. That's number 1168 in the Hebrew section. Now it also means master. So you've got two words basically that mean the same thing. And with this word, okay, you can also use it as an affix, meaning you can attach it to nouns, okay, either as a prefix in front of it or as a suffix behind it. So you can create other words with it, okay? Because remember, we're talking about a name game. Okay, so you've got two words, Adonai and Baal. They both mean Lord, and they're used also synonymously for master. Adonai and Baal. Now, I'm sure for some of you the bulb's starting to burn just a little brighter, but for me, I'm sorry, it took a couple of minutes, okay? Because in all honesty, words, it's not uncommon for, in any language, for there to be different words that mean the same thing. Okay, in English we've got sack and bag, pan and skillet, or automobile and vehicle. Those are two different words that mean the same thing, right? So, you know, what's the big deal? It still might not sink in, okay? But we're going to read another scripture. This is also in Jeremiah. This is in chapter 23, and he writes about something. I'm going to start at verse 25. I have heard what the prophet said, that prophesy lies in my name. So this is Yahuwah, the Almighty, who is speaking to Jeremiah. I have heard what the prophet said, that prophesy lies in my name, saying, I have dreamed, I have dreamed. How long shall this be in the heart of the prophets that prophesy lies? Yea, they are prophets of the deceit of their own heart, which think to cause my people to forget my name by their dreams, which they tell every man to his neighbor, as their fathers have forgotten my name for Baal. Okay, so now I'm sure, like for me, when I got this scripture, the light bulb just bing came on brighter. Baal, it says that they forgot his name for the name Baal. And you can see how, when you realize that Baal means master and Lord, and Adonai means Lord and master, that you're using them interchangeably. Okay, so there would be what the pens of the scribes were doing. Okay, so that part kind of clicks in. We get it, that it is a name game, and they were playing games with the names. Okay, so that part we can get, but we have to ask ourselves, how could our ancestors have forgotten the name that Moses declared that he would publish? How could they forget the name of the Almighty who led Joshua and aided him in conquering and gaining possession of the land of the covenant? How? Okay, so again, just a reminder, Baal means master. That's one of the definitions for this word. But also, 1167, the word right above it, we realize that it is the name of a Canaanite god of fertility. The land of Canaan is the land that the Almighty gave to Abraham to inherit for his descendants. There were already people there. They had been there for centuries, for millennia. They had their own customs. They had their own traditions. They established the towns and cities. They put names to the towns and cities. Technically, it was their land. One of their common gods of fertility was Baal. That was the name of one of their gods. Okay, now the other thing that I'm going to point out here to show how this happened, this name game took another turn, is that the word Balaam, a lot of people pronounce it Balaam. That is not the name of a god. That is the name of the pantheon of Baal deities. There was more than one Baal god. The im on the end, that is a Hebrew ending. That is a plural ending. So for example, where you have the word Malach, that means one messenger. Malachim, that would be two or more messengers. Yehuda, the name of the kingdom of the southern kingdom, Yehuda. Yahudim, with that I am ending, would mean one or two or more people from the kingdom of Yehuda, or one or two or more people from the tribe of Yehuda. So that im, that Baalim, okay, that's talking about a pantheon of gods. Now, I checked out in the Encyclopedia Concordance that goes with the African Heritage Study Bible of the King James Version, and under Baal, there's an interesting observation. It was the false god Baal that caused the children of Israel most of their problems. Two matters that are noteworthy in the early life of the Israelites are, one, their willingness to worship the god Baal, and two, to marry into the black Canaanite tribe. Now, the fact that these people were black had nothing to do with it. I mean, that would make no sense because the ancient Hebrews were black. So that was not the issue. It was their idolatry. The Almighty did not want the ancient Hebrews who had entered into this covenant with him to take up the practice of worshiping other gods. That is where the problem comes in. Now, through the prophet Hosea, the Almighty makes an observation, and he uses a twist of words, a play of words that kind of explains how this name game took another turn. Starting in chapter 2, starting with verse 16, "And it shall be at that day, saith Yahuwah, that thou shalt call me Ishi, and shalt call me no more Baali. For I will take away the names of Baalim out of her mouth, and they shall no more be remembered by their name." Okay, so first of all, first question, who's the her? Well, that would be the house of Jacob. And what about this phrase, take the names of Baalim from out of her mouth? Now, I've already explained that Baalim, that is actually, you're talking about a plural, so you're talking about a pantheon of gods with the name Baal. But what does that mean, take them out of her mouth, okay? Now, in this concordance that I just quoted from, I compiled just this is where the word plethora comes in, okay? Just the names of towns, of people, of just landmarks where Baal is used, where, again, I said that it was an affix, that you could put it at the beginning of a word or the end of a word to modify that word. And I just found a slew of them. And I'm just going to go through some of them here just so you can get the point of what that means, that the Baalim was to take that Baalim out of her mouth, out of Jacob's mouth. Let's see, you've got Baal-Bek, a Syrian town north of Damascus. Baal-Gad, Lord of Fortune. Baal-Hanan, Baal is gracious. Baal-Hazor means Baal's court, but it's also the name of a city near Bethel. Baal-Hermon, Lord of Hermon, it's the name of a city, and it's also the name of a mountain. Baalis, meaning son of rejoicing, it's also the name of an Ammonite king. Baal-Peor, Lord of the opening, but it's also the name of a mountain in Moab. Okay, so these are just examples of the different names that this word Baal was used, okay? And so because the people did not follow the admonition or the commandment given to them through Moses to not inquire after these other gods, to not take up their pagan ways, one of being child sacrifice, they were told not to add to that commandment nor to take away from it, but they did anyway, and the result was they began to mix in with the people, to take on their customs. They did not change the names of the towns. They did not eradicate the Baal practice. They began to emulate and to take it up. And so those names, changing the names in the scriptures, using the names of the towns and the landmarks that they used, that in and of itself, those names of Baalim, those deities, begin to fall out of their mouths. That's what that refers to. So we need to do the opposite. We need to help publish the name of Yahuwah in accordance with what Moses said. We need to glorify and magnify his name. Now, at the Biblical Hebrews of the Bible, that is what we are starting to do. We're going to start selling stickers, postcards, posters, buttons. You can get a pack of 25 for $25, so it's basically it's $1 a piece, and you can give them to your friends. You can send them through the mail. You can put them up. You can also, for some of them, you can get them on t-shirts. But help publish the name Yahuwah. Okay? Get it out there. Let people see it. Start stimulating conversation and dialogue around it. Like, here's one of the postcards that we're selling. And you can see it's got all of the different names, but God, Jehovah, Lord, they've got it slashed through them. So that right there could start a topic. Why do you have Lord slashed through? Why wouldn't you use the word Lord? What is this Yahuwah? What is that? I mean, this is a way to start talking about it. And it's also a way to help us generate funds for people who might need it, for the ministry, for the website. But a lot of us live in cities where you see stickers and, flyers all over the place, okay? People will put up a sticker somewhere with a marijuana leaf on it to show their support for medicinal marijuana, or you can see a leaf up there. You can see maybe a hanger with a slash through it showing, they're against abortion, or a sticker with a Save the Whales or a Stop Police Brutality or whatever. It happens. So we're going to start doing the same thing. using these postcards, using these stickers, buttons, putting them on t-shirts. You can, anyone interested in the price or knowing more about it or ordering them through leave a message in my inbox here on YouTube or on the Biblical Hebrews of the Bible website. Again, they're packages of 25 for $25. Okay, shalom.